dog bark in response to me shouting buzzing?
Probably. You don't mind that the dog is barking because my window is open and I am.
We always love a guest on this show, so. Seals are good. Oxygen's good. Just do what you did last time and you're fine. Follow my one simple rule, and that is me welcoming you to Code and Colour.
On this spaceship, we discuss all things video games, animation, and digital drawing.
Hello, Captain. I am... I love Vasco, man. I love him. I am your intrepid, stargazing, frontier-hating, but what's the new one called? Razor leaf loving Tyler.
And I am your space samurai pirate scoundrel.
You're not. You're just definitely not yet. Yeah, you've got a sword.
Still looking for my tool for the job. Josh.
How have you been, buddy? Are you gonna? So obviously last week, I give you a lot of stick about me being able to, enjoy Starfield before everyone. Before you.
Do you know what? You've sealed your own fate because I completely forgot you said that. I was going to let that go. And not even, and now
I was never letting that go. Yeah. I mean, it wouldn't have made sense if we didn't bring it up because as we left things last week, you were not playing it yet. And by the point of we're recording this, you'd be like, well, how has Josh suddenly played it? So we'd have had to bring it up.
So my wonderful father, as an early birthday present, decided just out of the blue to buy me Starfield Premium on the day it came out. And literally unlocked a childhood giddy emotion of like, I'm experiencing Skyrim for the first time again.
Yeah, it's exactly what I had.
I were literally doing backflips around the room like, oh, I can play it today.
But you couldn't, could you?
No, because then my wife Molly was like, we've got to go do X, Y, and Z. And I'm like, no, we don't. We just don't need to do that.
Instead, you came to my house and watched me play it.
Yeah, I watched you play it. I got through the character I got to the character creation screen, and then stopped, went out, didn't play it for the rest of the day, and then saw you play it, and then got home, played it again, and then got to the bit where I saw you play it that night, which was fun. It was like deja vu.
That's a good segue for pretty much where we're going to talk to. What about we're going to talk to today? But I'll let you carry on.
Yeah, but on a scale of shabby and not too shabby, I think I was full shabby.
Well, ideally, you don't want to be shabby. I think the point is that you kind of shabby isn't a good thing. I don't think.
Well, I think it's more shabby with excitement. Is how I felt.
I think at some point, given that I always say it, we need to find out what shabby means.
Well, I was
in poor condition through long use or lack of care.
Oh, God, I've been shabby for 29 years.
What, you had 2 years of being not shabby, did you?
Yeah. First 2 years, I was all right. I was just settling in. Then from like 3 onwards, I was just shabby. I was broken. I was on my way to death.
Unreal.
That's what it was. So, yeah. No, I've been really enjoying it. I haven't watched. I've had a boring life. I've done a lot of family things, but all of my spare time has been taken up by a little indie project called Starfield.
I thought you were going to say a little indie project called My Son. I really thought you were going to say that. But Starfield makes more sense. Yep, I am definitely not too shabby. Less shabby than usual due to... Oi.
Lies. I have to find out what it means. You are like 9/10 shabby. You know?
Oh, I'm probably shabbier than usual, but I'm going to stick to not too shabby because Starfield balanced it out. So, yeah, I have also been playing endless hours of Starfield, but I've also still been playing a load of Fortnite as well because I'm obsessed. I kind of play Fortnite in the daytime. We're in the early evening, and in the late, I'll play Starfield. So, that's that. I have been watching stuff, but I'm going to talk about that as a little recommendation for the day, so I won't discuss at this point. But we are going to talk about Starfield. Josh got earlier access, so it means we can start our little Starfield series. So we began that last week with our kind of pre-episode, and this week, and probably the next 2 weeks after that, we're doing a series on Starfield. So there are going to be a lot of spoilers. We'll try our best, but yeah. So we're going to be talking about that. And no, that's like, what? They're doing a series. It's not just a one episode exclusive. No. This game is big, all right, and it deserves us giving it the love and attention that
and really
is expected.
We do what we want.
That is true. We do actually just kind of, we don't follow any. There's no, like we've said before, there's no rhyme or reason to why we do things. We just kind of do what we want. So, deal with it.
Be your own boss. It's great.
Be your own boss, as
like
Josh has said. So, yes, we're going to discuss Starfield, and we're specifically this week going to look at the first 2 hours of the game, which pretty much gets to the point where Josh saw me playing, and he got to on day one as well. So we're going to do that. But before we do that, a little update on something that is important / topical / something we've discussed before. So, Josh, shall we get into it?
Let's get into it.
So, SAG-AFTRA strike, the writers' strike, the strikes go on. The strikes don't end, and it just seems to be getting slightly worse. As it's been recently announced. It hasn't begun yet, but it's looking like it will. That a lot of video games companies and studios are going to be joining these strikes, which means we will see further delays. There's been a lot of speculations about what will happen. One of them being, is Spider-Man going to be affected next month? It's a very real possibility. It is a very real possibility. Josh, what do you think?
I think the people that run these studios that are not paying those people are heathens. I think that this shouldn't have got to this stage, and everything should have got sorted. And my hearts and prayers and wishes go out to the people that are affected by this, and in the sense of like they're not being paid for or compensated for their work, and not being paid, and they've got houses and families to look after. I can relate. So yeah, I think that it's a real shame, and I think really the victim is the writers and the people that work on these projects are not getting compensated properly. But I think the fallout and everyone, the main people that are going to be affected by this is people who are consumers. We're not going to see movies, and we're not going to see games, and it's a sad time.
And we know what that's like as well.
Yeah,
go on, Karen.
We waited 7 years for Starfield. Was it 7 years? Yeah? 8 years. 8 years for Starfield. Like, my mum, love her to bits, she was like, oh, is this game important? I was like, I've waited 8 years for this. Like,
I've done my waiting.
I've waited 8 years for this, and I don't want to wait any longer, and people don't. And if it's affected by somebody paying a bill or paying someone properly, then that person deserves to have bad things happen to them, but we can't endorse violence on it.
God, that was pretty left field, that one, mate. I mean, we've seen... sorry, I interrupted you with this earlier, but we've seen this kind of thing before. We had a lockdown when we were in COVID. We saw pretty much everything stop, right? We didn't have new films for ages. We still got TV shows. I mean, they weren't exactly, top quality. Tiger King, I am looking at you.
Tenet.
And we had video games. Tenet, yeah, well, we had video games, obviously, throughout lockdown. But we've seen this kind of thing before. And, the consumers kind of... Yes, we have our day-to-day lives and we do things. But at the very core, we consume, right? And we need these things in our lives. You just need those forms of escapism. And it's very sad to see that we're not making any progress. And it's very odd that it's got to the point that we're at now. It started as the writers' strike, and we've had a writers' strike before, and that didn't last very long. Surely not as long as it has done this time. And then obviously the writers, the Actors Guild got involved, and now we're seeing video game companies get involved, which is just a real shame. And it's we're no strangers to the fact that a lot of game developers are overworked, and we talk about it endlessly on this show. And I know we've made opinions in the past about, you know the kind of profession that you're getting into when you get into this line of work. But that, on the flip side of that, the people that are running these studios need to appreciate the level of work that goes into these games. Starfield, Bethesda is an 8-year game in the making, right? 8 years it's taken to make that game, and comes with a bag of issues, but it's great. But you can tell that the amount of effort that has gone into this game, and I can't even begin to imagine the long hours a lot of these developers and these art directors and these things like that have worked just to make this game come to life. So yeah, I think it's a really sad time, and I hope it doesn't get to that point with video game studios. That being said, if it does, I'm in full support. Right, I want everyone to be treated fairly, get the payment that they so deserve, because it's not fair for us to enjoy a product and the people that worked on it don't get the recognition and the reward that they deserve for it. So yeah, we stand with them here at Code and Colour, but it is shit that it's got this far.
So, speaking of an 8-year world of issues, shall we get into it?
So yes, we are going to be talking about Starfield today, and as I said earlier, it's the first 2 hours. So just again, a further warning, there is spoilers. So if you don't want to have anything spoiled, switch off now. Go and play it when it comes out. Or it will be out by the time this episode drops. Go and play it. It's weird that if you've not considered playing it, that's weird. Go and play it, and then come and have a listen. So yeah, let's get into it. Starfield. What a game. Jesus wept. Starfield came out early for me and Josh. Originally it was only meant to be me. Josh, the sod, got it as well.
Thanks, Dad.
Thanks, Josh's dad, for that. So yeah, today we're going to do a little deep dive into the first few hours, specifically the character creation, comparing it to other character creations, talking about whether, because that was a section in their presentation that was very, it was a bit of a centerpiece, was their character creation. And just then the first kind of hour after that, because quite a lot that goes on in the first hour. And also, I think we should touch on, comparing it to kind of the things that we spoke about last week. Just briefly, in terms of what we're talking about at this point. I think, firstly, I'd just like to say, Grums, the menu's fine. I don't have a problem with the menu. It menus the way a menu should.
But you spend a lot of time in that menu.
You actually do. But that's something we'll talk about next week. But the actual menu looks fine. There's no issue with that menu, right? It functions. It has some nice sound effects going on. I sat in that screen the other day when I was booting it up and I got distracted, but I had it going on in my headphones. And it's just nice sort of, those sound effects of astronauts talking. And it's there's a very specific sound that astronauts make when they talk, right?
One giant the exact from mankind. Yeah. That
kind of, you know exactly what I'm talking about. There's lots of that going on. It's very nice. I think there's a lot of nice sound design for it. The image I don't think actually moves. I don't know. I haven't looked at it long enough for me to work it out. But yeah, it functions well. And in terms of, I guess, to be fair, we spoke about boundaries last week. And we will probably touch on that more next week, actually.
No means no, people.
No means no. I don't know why Josh says that.
Boundaries.
Weird take, Josh. Probably. And cut. This has been Code and Colour, everyone. This will be our last episode. No. But right, so let's get into it, right? So you open up on with the dialogue that I gave you at the start of the very episode, without the Code and Colour stuff. If they gave you the Code and Colour speech, that would be great, but they certainly don't do that. yeah, I would be coming for Bethesda hard. I want that Bethesda money. You know what I mean? So
I want that
you know what I mean?
cheese.
So we open up on Supervisor Lynn and whatever the fella is afterwards at what is quite funny, and they are part of a mining company called Argos, which really made me laugh for some reason. You know what I mean? Like, so yeah, you open on that. You don't. It's pretty classic. You know, you're kind of finally you're awake kind of moment. You know, it opens up, fades in. You can't zoom out at this point. You're just a thing. You just exist.
Floaty.
You just exist, and you've got your little mining thing, your cutter, which is just a laser, which I thought I'd use a lot more. But
before you continue with the laser thing, just on that, because I actually found out something. I don't know if you're aware of this. Do you know if you press the left trigger before you shoot the laser, it charges it up and gives you a more powerful shot, and lets you mine the thing in like seconds versus like 12 seconds.
I did not know that.
There you go. The more you know.
Thank you. So here you go. Your first little inside scoop into Starfield there for you guys. No, I didn't know that. So you open up. You're in a mine, a cave that you're mining. You find the artifact, and
a grey cube.
It's just a thing. It's not a grey cube. It's like a slate thing, isn't it? It's like a curved slate.
It's like a curved slate, but there's like grey cubes floating around. You walk into this like crevice, and things are floating. Because
you're only human, you touch it. You touch this weird thing that, boy, I've never seen anything like this before. I know, I'll touch it. It's I don't know if you've ever seen the film Chronicle. It's a found footage film about 3 guys who get superpowers. They touch it. And as a result, it works out well for them. And I think we're getting a very similar, from what I understand, we might get a very similar experience of Starfield. But neither of us actually know yet what happens there. But, so that happens, and then fade to black. That all happens it takes about 5 minutes. You're walking. Josh and I do have a slight gripe with the walking in this game, and most video games. Josh?
Right, it's 2023. Just why can't your characters just match the walking speed of the person you're following? Like, you do that stupid run 2 steps, slow down, wait for them to catch up. Run 2 steps, wait for them to slow down and catch up. Or you walk so slow, they're bouncing along at a breakneck pace. Why? Just why? It's 2023.
It's weird that we can't just walk in a video game.
Like, even when we walk a normal step, that the person's walking at 1.5, so they're always faster than you, and you're like, what? Why are they coded differently? Like, that's just mad.
It is odd. It is very odd.
If I can play Red Dead and I can make my horse follow a road across an entire map, you can make me walk at a certain speed, at the same speed as an NPC.
Can you imagine if in real life you followed someone and they just walked at a speed that was unavailable to you? You just did little jogs and stuff.
I do.
And they were like, people would look at you like a friggin' madman.
No, I do. It's a real life gripe I have. Molly walks at a wider gap than me.
That's what I'm doing then.
And then I walk because I've got tiny legs, and I do double the amount of steps that she does. So it's like I can't physically get far enough to catch up with her. And she's got the big strides going off, and I'm like a little walking across.
Oh, you shouldn't be such a
I do twice as many steps as she does. It's so funny.
That's good. That's good for you.
Yeah. It's a real affliction, and I don't want to see it in my video games. I don't need it to be like real life. Channeling my little YouTube guy.
That's true. That's true. But so you do that awkward jog, and then for some reason, they go, "Hey, newbie, I know you've never done anything like this before, but why don't you go and investigate that weird thing that none of us want to do?"
Yeah, and it's like newbie that's just 50-year-old man, 21-year-old person, whatever it may be.
Or, you be any age. I can either look like a young teenager or the oldest human being that has ever graced the galaxy.
And you've got no memory of anything that happened before, and I'm just like, right, okay, what? Like, what the hell am I doing in mine? Like,
weird. I was like, that's a weird take. Like, they should have done it differently. Like, they got trapped.
But the caveat to that is, yes, you are the most underqualified person to go do this, but from a video game aspect, that means you instantly get your ship, and instantly the whole world's open to you, and you just go and do whatever you want to do.
Yeah, there isn't actually a long, like, prologue, which is good, but
And bad.
Bad, but we'll get there. We'll get there later. So you then go and touch this artifact, and it does some weird shit to you, and you pass out. Classic, right? And then it opens up, right? Opens up, and it's like, you've lost all your memory. Do you remember what you look like? Does this ring any bells? Right? And then you cut to your character creation. So, character creation in the presentation made out like the possibilities of what you could look like as a human being were endless, right? You know, and to a degree, that's correct. You can alter every part of your face.
So I think the words that we used were, you can create any person within Starfield.
Yeah, I think that is the words they used, to be fair.
Which is very limiting. It's also very good, you know, it's good that you've got like that blank sort of palette to make anybody within the game, but it also limits you,
especially when there are thousands of people in that game, right? I think it's very much, I mean, I don't know if it might be the case, but I'm yet to see 2 NPCs that I think look the same, right? I think they have specifically made each NPC look different. I
think you're very right, actually. I'm literally racking my brain now thinking, I've
never seen 2 NPCs look the same.
That's amazing.
And obviously, that is the case, but there very much could be a case of like they've just gone randomly generated people, right? And that's how they've done it. And if that's how they've done it, fine. You know, that's fine. That's fine. I would rather they did that than just go, freaking hell, I've seen that NPC 3 times. Do you know what I mean? Obviously, they get away with a lot of their models being the enemies. Like spacers have all just got suits on.
Yeah, policemen are all you know, blue guys.
They all look different though. They do all look different. But yeah, so you go through the character creation. My biggest gripe with it is more the kind of, not necessarily how you make your face look. It's the kind of the accessories that you can have, right? Because I wanted to have some earrings on my character and a nose ring. One, you can't get a nose ring like I have at all. You can get a stud, or you can get like a septum piercing, but you can't get a nose ring, which I thought was odd because nose rings are a very popular piercing on younger people. I thought that was odd that they didn't have that option. I know literally hundreds of people with a nose ring, so I thought that was bizarre. And I find it very bizarre that if I have a septum piercing, I can't have some earrings in. Why can't I be covered in tattoos and piercings?
Yeah, I agree.
Weird.
I think there's a lot of character creators out there, and some are game changery, some are, you know, lackluster, some give you basic things, but with this, the whole point of Starfield is to have that limitless sandbox, to be the space person that you want to be. You know, I don't need to be able to, like, Forza Motorsport make decals or decals, whatever they're called, decals, I think they are, where you can, like, use shapes and manipulate it and create, you know, a Homer Simpson sticker for, like, a tattoo on my arm. I don't need that levels of being able to create my own tattoos. You could give me some boards of tattoos that are all, you know, like Cyberpunk does. Give me tattoos that have already been made, and let me cover my guy from head to toe in tattoos. You know,
it's weird. Yeah, it's weird because you can have tattoos on your face, and I've got them on my face, but you can't have any on your body. Which, to be fair, I don't think you'd wear anything. I don't think there's any outfits that show your arms or your legs anyway.
Well, there is. There's the under, like, armour stuff where it's like the
yes, I know, but everything I've found is all long sleeved.
I found a greaser flight suit, and it's like a vest with, like, it's like tied overalls.
That's disgusting. Oh, that's quite funny. I enjoy that. That is good.
I found a few, but, like, he's got tied overalls around his waist and he's wearing a tank top, and I'm like, oh, I'd love to be, like, you know, walking around New Atlantis and, you know, tattooed up. But here's a question for you.
It's weird that. Go, please. Ask me away.
So I watched a review. I've been watching a lot of things about this game, and there's a lot of takes and a lot of things that's come about, and I think I'm of one camp, but I'm also of another camp as well. So, do you think that this is the final product of Starfield that we will get, and this is how they've intended the game to be? Or do you think that in 12 months we'll be playing a completely different version of Starfield?
Well, we kind of touched on this the other day, didn't we? When you came round, I asked you if you think they're going to live update this game, and I think they will. I think they'll continue to bring out patches and updates because this game needs it. Right, it needs a lot more love and attention. The problem that comes with that is it's going to require a lot more data and a lot more memory. So, for those on an Xbox Series S like myself, it might be a problem. Obviously, I can just plug in more memory into it. That is an option, but it comes with costs and space, etc.
Pun intended.
I don't know. Yeah, good one. Yeah, I don't know how much more they'll add to the game. There's so much to do, and I feel like we've barely scraped the surface ourselves. We're obviously quite far in. I've played 19 hours of this game now. There's so much to do, and I think it's going to be... Well, I think they'll have to add more. I think if they want to keep this game relevant for years, the trouble is because it's a lot more of a modern take. I know it's like 300 years in the future. It's a lot more of a modern take. I think it's meant to be more symbolic of a modern day kind of era than something like Skyrim or Fallout is, right? Skyrim is a period piece. They're not going to start putting in things like sleeve tattoos because that would just not make sense for the era that it's kind of representing. Whereas in the era of something like Starfield, I mean, we've seen a lot of like dystopian futures, like Cyberpunk, where you can be covered in tattoos and piercings and things like that, or genetically alter your body and things like that. Go on.
I don't think they'll do it as like a live service thing. I think they'll do it like they do with Cyberpunk, where they're releasing Phantom Liberty as like a big DLC. They will add and remove these things. Like it'll be like, this is a DLC that comes 12 months from now called the Moons of Mars.
I think they'll coincide it with a PS5 release, if I'm being honest, when that eventually happens. Because I think they'll have to do it.
Oh, you think it's going to come to PS5?
100%.
That is a discussion for another day.
That is a discussion for another day.
I don't think it will.
But we won't talk about that right now. But I think if we're going to get it, yeah, you're in it. You're right. We'll probably maybe not live updates, but we will get some DLCs. Maybe some like character packs.
Yeah.
Things like that. Rather, I don't know. I don't necessarily think we'll get big DLC for this game because there's 1,000 planets, right? Which actually is a bit of a con, but we'll talk about that next week. Yeah, so I'm thinking character packs because I would like the options to have... the hairstyles are a little bit bland, I thought. There's not really like a long... Like I'm playing a female character because I always do. There's not like an option for like long hair. Like just long hair. I was like, oh, okay, that's rather odd.
Okay, I'll devil's advocate you, tin hat, yeah.
Devil's advocate, blah blah blah.
Tin hat, yeah. Do you really think
it's because you got a helmet on?
Exactly.
No.
No.
Sorry.
No. You want to take your helmet off?
If I can have hoop earrings under a helmet, which I would argue are a health and safety issue in themselves, I should be allowed to have long hair. Or even piercings. Are you telling me astronauts have got piercings? Because I'm telling you now they don't.
Well, in this day and age, we're not just like one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind. We've colonised like 200 of those planets out of 1,000. So I think we've got space travel down to a T. In
this day and age. I really thought you meant real life for a minute then. He does in fact mean in the time that Starfield is set.
It's like 150 years in the future in something. How many years in the future?
It's like 2003. We're in the year 2000. 2333 I think is the year we're in. Something like that.
We landed on the moon in the 60s. So I think by that time it'd be like going and grabbing a can of Coke.
Supposedly we landed on the moon in the 60s. You never know.
Well, this definitely confirms that we did, because I've done that.
Yeah, I've landed on the moon, if that's any consolation. Mars is pretty dull, actually. But yeah. So, yeah, the character creation, I think, comparing to other games, so let's do that.
Yeah.
Let's look at other Bethesda games, right? It's definitely come a long way since Fallout 4, because I think I mentioned this to you yesterday, I don't know if you remember, but when you make your character in Fallout 4, you have to design what your parents look like, and it gives you a result.
Yeah.
That was crap. That was crap. That was crap. I can't. Skyrim was. You were in a prison.
Yeah, you were about.
No,
to be
you were on. You were about to be hung, weren't you?
Yeah.
You weren't in a prison. That was Oblivion.
Yeah.
The prison one.
And you meet Patrick Stewart, in Oblivion.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, Oblivion, Skyrim's is really good. I always remember Skyrim being really good. Touching back on your point about tattoos in a period piece, war paint.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
But I guess.
But they did add things.
I can't imagine, like, because it's obviously, based on like Nordic culture. I don't think they were having sleeve tattoos.
No,
like you've got.
Well, to be fair, like you could have like
they had like their tattoos were symbolic, right? It was war symbols,
runes and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But with saying that, and the DLC that they did drop for Skyrim, they dropped things where you could become like a werewolf or a vampire, or you could, and it was like, look,
that happened in the main game.
Yeah, no, but like you there's like the Dawnguard DLC that where you'd become like the king of the vampires and be some like awesome beastly vampire, a proper werewolf. And then when they did that, they included the fact that you could buy a house and then kit that house out and do all these different things and like add stuff like that. Now that's how I think they'll do it with Starfield. Touching on the character creation though, I think it's
it's definitely improved since Skyrim. I think Skyrim's feels a lot better because it's not just human, right? You've got other races. You've got the elves, the Argonian, the Khajiits. You've got it feels like there's more option there because there is essentially with Starfield being limited to just humans, which is something I would like to talk about, but again we'll probably talk about that in future episodes. Being only human, it felt very limiting.
Yeah. I enjoyed it for the most part, and I sort of like moved the sliders and blended what I needed to do, and I got my characters to sort of like look something of something.
Yeah, the character Josh made wishes. Josh wishes he looked like.
he's like an older, more chiseled me.
He literally is like, if Josh could create himself into an 80s sci-fi action hero, that's what he's done.
He had bags under his eyes and everything, but he just had that jawline that just wouldn't quit.
Yeah, chiseled as hell. You'd ignore the bags under his eyes because he's just so chiseled. Can't get past it. The definition on his jaw.
So yeah, I liked the character creation for the most part, but I do think it's very limiting. But it's something we do need to touch on as well with like the engine that they use. Everything's sort of limited because of the Creation 2.0 engine that they use, and I think it is outdated. Yeah. And I think that other games that let you create characters, not even big, AAA games, like old WWE games. Like if you ever played like SmackDown versus Raw, or what is it, Welcome to Hell, or Welcome to
one of the best character creators.
You could create anything. Like I literally finish the game and I'd create like Spider-Man, Batman. I'd create anything from like childhood and be like, I've made this really like tanked up and like give him a blue leotard and put a little spider on his chest, and that's Spider-Man, rolling around in the ring, and you could just create anything. And I think that this goes for that realism to sort of like enable to have everybody in the game that you need, but again you're losing that sort of sandboxy mode of being able to just like go full tattoo piercing, shaved head mohawk with one eyebrow slit.
I think especially after Baldur's Gate 3 has just come out, right? That had people raved about that character creator. Again, still haven't had the opportunity to play it. Probably won't for a while now. It's that seemed to, and from what I've seen, like I've watched YouTube videos on the Baldur's Gate one, it looks like, you can really go wild with your imagination, and that's obviously based on the fact that it's Dungeons and Dragons, right? Or it's a product of Dungeons and Dragons, and the whole idea of that whole universe is your imagination. Yeah, your imagination is your only kind of limit, I guess. So I think it was disappointing, because I think we both kind of had this notion that we would spend a long time on the character creation, and it took me a while, but that's mostly because when you get to the traits, right? And I think we should talk about the
I
traits.
did it twice.
You did. So traits and your background. So you kind of pick your background, which I think is the most interesting part. I got through the character design in about 15 minutes after I kind of fine-tweaked how I wanted my character to look, and, got really annoyed at the fact that I could only have one piece of jewellery. I fine-tweaked, then we got to the background, and I was like, I don't know which one to pick. I picked Explorer, just because I didn't want something that kind of tied me down to one specific fighting style.
I went Ronin.
So you picked something that tied you down to one specific fighting style.
Well, I talked to my brother about this, and I had the conversation about the traits really don't overly matter. They just sort of set you up with the things that you need straight away. So if you are starting this game, for the first time and you have watched our pod, if you can get a trait that has a booster pack in it, change your life.
Yeah.
But anything else that's on that, can be a bonus if it's your sort of play style.
But you get a booster back you get a booster bag straight away.
But you can't use the booster pack without the trait.
But you can get, when you level up, you can get that as the first perk if you like.
Exactly, yeah, but that's
all the perks available. All the perks available under your background are perks that you could, are first level perks. So it's I think that a lot of them should be locked for a while, because it kind of, yes, it's not a class. You don't really have by definition a class. You never really have in a Bethesda game, right? But I think it shouldn't be the case of, cool, these are the 3 perks that you start with, and they actually only really have a benefit for the first 40 minutes of the game, and then you'll level up, and actually it doesn't really matter then, does it? If you didn't pick stealth, no worries, you can get it after level 1. Fine, okay, cool. And then you pick your traits. So I went with kid stuff, which gives you access to go meet your parents, extrovert, and what was the other one I picked? Oh, I picked one where I unlocked some special gear, but I actually haven't got that gear yet.
I picked kid stuff. I know what you get when you do the kid stuff perk, if you'd like me to tell you.
I've been to see my parents.
No, but what they give you.
They didn't give me anything.
Well, they will eventually.
All right. No, don't tell me then.
Okay.
No,
that's fine.
No, I don't know, because I don't know myself.
It is decent what they give you, and you.
I should hope so. They get friggin' about $1,000 a week off me,
and it is you'll appreciate it when you get it, because I found out today. I was like, oh yeah, I'm going to go see them now, and give them more money. But there is a decent one you get off them, but that's the only one I picked.
Have you got it?
No, I know someone who has got it though. I say no someone. I heard.
How? The game's been out 10 minutes. It's not even out yet.
Gosh, it's just people have been early accessing it, haven't they? We have,
Yeah, I suppose it's fortunately fallen on a weekend, right?
That was great.
So a lot of people have had time to play it.
But yeah, I do like the character creator. I do think it's a decent thing, and I do think it's. But it is limiting, and I do think that it is.
Yeah,
I
think the interesting parts that kind of separate you are your traits and your traits alone. Although your background, I don't know if it's just a coincidence, but because I picked Explorer, I keep getting referred to as an Explorer, and I don't know if that's because I picked that perk or not. Are you getting that as well?
No, I haven't got. No one said anything to me about. Apart from what's her name, Susie. What's her name? Lynn.
Sarah.
Lynn.
Oh, Lynn.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, at the start. Yeah.
Yeah.
So no one's referred to you as being a bit of a Ronin type kind of guy?
No, the only person that referred to me was Basco when he called me Captain Joshua.
Yeah, I name all my characters May. I'm not getting into it. I just do. If you don't like it, tough. I call all my characters May whenever I play a video game. It comes from short stories. Pokemon Generation 4. There was one of the female characters was called May, right? So I went with that, and it's been May ever since. Oh no, that's not right. She was Dawn. Who the hell was May? Oh, I think it might be Generation 3. Either way, I've always been May. So yeah, I've lost my train of thought. Oh yeah, and for some reason, spelled May, they won't say it. But if you type in Maya, which is Maya, they'll say it.
Or
Or
Mae.
if Mae, they'll say it. But May, they won't say it. Ridiculous.
Yeah.
But they'll say titties.
They say a lot of bad words.
We won't say any more on this show, but they'll say titties, all right? If you want to be Captain Titties, you can be. But I can't be Captain May. Heaven forbid.
One that I found that did make me chuckle was Captain Nugget.
Captain Nugget. I love it. So, yeah, we only got to round this up. But I think we'll talk more next week on the combat side of things and like the first few hours, space travel, combat, the world itself. But yeah, so rounding off this week, it's my turn with a CNC recommendation. And Josh doesn't know what it is. We've kind of been doing that now, haven't we? Just not been telling each other what ours is. And it is an animated TV show that's come out a few months ago on Disney Plus. Very similar to, well, it's called Kazazimoto, and it is a animated anthology show on Disney Plus, and it's very similar to Star Wars Visions, in the fact that each episode is a self-contained story, different animation studio, but they're all from animation companies based out of Africa, and it's all sci-fi, and it's really cool. I've only watched probably half the series, but I'm loving it. It's a really nice kind of fresh storytelling, like kind of diving into stories that I almost feel like I'm just watching episodes of Wakanda, like different stories of Wakanda, because it's obviously it's all set in Africa and all very futuristic. So Kazazimoto, you can find it on Disney